Have you ever wondered what you were born to do, or are you just drifting through life in regret? Listen to this story. Zig Ziglar, a 25-year-old man, broke, desperate, and cornered by life, until he discovered five secrets that turned him into an inspiration for millions. Here at Quote Library today, I'm revealing those secrets, not empty words, but a fire that can ignite your dreams starting right now. Are you ready to grab the keys to unlock But here's what you need to understand. Consistency isn't about instant results. Why does this matter so much? Because making a decision sets everything else in motion. It's like the rudder on a ship. Without it, you drift aimlessly. With it, you steer your course. That's when the power of direction kicks in. You see, when you decide on a goal, when you define exactly what you want, something shifts. Your brain, your energy, even your actions start aligning with that decision. Until you do that, you're like a ship without a rudder, tossed around by life's waves with no destination in sight. Now you might ask, Zig, how do I decide? Well, let me tell you how I've seen it work in my own life and in the lives of countless others. You have to get clear on what truly matters to you. This is where many people stumble. They say they want success, but success means different things to different people. Do you want wealth, health, better relationships, spiritual fulfillment? These are all different kinds of success, and until you decide which one matters most to you, you'll never have direction. One thing you can do is sit down with a piece of paper and start writing. Write down everything you want in life. Don't hold back. Let your imagination run wild. Think about where you want to live, the car you want to drive, the career you want to pursue, the relationships you want to have. But here's the key. After you've written it all down, go back and narrow it to what truly matters. Ask yourself, what's most important here? At 25, I had nothing in the bank. Creditors were calling, and I was scraping by on crumbs. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was I didn't know what I wanted. I was just surviving day to day with no clear sense of direction. Then I met a man named Mr. Schoaf, my mentor. One of the first things he said was, Zig, you've got to decide what you want. Mr. Schoaf pushed me to get serious about my life, to decide where I wanted to go and what I wanted to achieve. One evening, I sat down and started writing my goals. At first, they were big, abstract things like, I want to be successful. But Mr. Schoaf showed me that wasn't enough. I had to be specific. So I got serious. I decided I wanted to earn a certain amount of money. I decided I wanted to travel the world. And I decided I wanted to become an influencer, someone who could teach and inspire others. Once I made those decisions, everything started to change. Don't get me wrong, deciding doesn't mean the universe suddenly hands you everything on a silver platter. No. What it does is give you a target, and when you have a target, you can start focusing. Focus is power. A laser is just focused light, but it can cut through steel. That's the kind of strength you unleash when you decide and zero in on it with all your energy. He had the best bow and arrows. He had all the right gear, and he practiced every day, but he couldn't hit the target consistently. Frustrated, he went to a coach for advice. The coach asked him a simple question, "What are you aiming at?" The man realized he wasn't aiming at anything. He was just drawing the bow and hoping for the best. The lesson is clear. You have to know what you're aiming for if you want to hit the mark. So what's your target? Have you really decided what you want? I encourage you to take the time to think about it. Really think about it. This is the first secret, because without it, the rest of the process won't work. Until you make a clear decision about what you want in life, you're just wandering. And there's nothing sadder than wandering without purpose. But once you make that decision, watch what happens. It's like a switch flips inside you. Your mind gets busy, your actions gain purpose, and even the universe seems to start Mr. Schoaf taught me this, and it changed my life. I went from broke and unsure of myself to becoming a millionaire, living a life I'd only dreamed of. And it wasn't because I got lucky, it was because I made a decision and stuck with it. That's the power of deciding. So that's the first secret. Decide what you want. Cut off all other options, burn the ships, and commit fully to that decision. So decide. Decide right now what your life will look like, and make that decision with your whole heart and mind. Because once you do, you're already halfway there. Next, you have to take massive action. You see, once you've made your decision, it's not enough to just sit there and wait for things to happen. You've got to roll up your sleeves and get to work. And not just any work, but massive, focused, a lot of people make a decision and get excited. At first, they're thrilled about their goal. They feel motivated. But then something happens. The excitement fades. That initial burst of energy starts to wane, and they stop acting. Maybe they take a few steps, and when they don't see instant results, they lose momentum. They start doubting if it's even possible. But here's the truth. Achieving anything worthwhile in life requires massive action, sustained over time. When I started in business, I didn't know much. I was just a farm boy from Idaho with big dreams. But I knew if I wanted to change my life, I had to do something different. I couldn't just sit there waiting for opportunity to fall into my lap. I had to create my own. So I made a decision. I decided I'd succeed in business no matter what it took. And once I made that decision, I got to work. I started reading every book I could find on business and success. I attended seminars, I sought out mentors, and I started taking action. And let me tell you, it wasn't easy. At first, I faced rejection after rejection. I knocked on doors, made calls, and heard a lot of no's. But I didn't let that stop me. I kept taking action. I kept knocking on those doors. And eventually the tide started to turn. You see, the more you act, the more momentum you build. It's like pushing a snowball down a hill. At first it's small and takes effort to get moving, but once it starts rolling, it grows bigger and bigger until it's unstoppable. Now, some people ask, Zig, what kind of action should I take? And that's a great question. The answer is you have to take action that aligns with your goal. You see, not all action is created equal. Busy work isn't the same as effective work. Some people stay busy all day but don't get closer to their goal because the actions they take don't move the needle. They're running on a treadmill, burning energy but going nowhere. What you need is massive, focused action, the kind that directly contributes to achieving your goal. If your goal is to build a successful business, your action needs to focus on growing that business. If your goal is to get in the best shape of your life, your action needs to center on fitness and nutrition. Whatever your goal, your action must match it. So what does massive action look like? It's going beyond what most people are willing to do. It's about persistence in your pursuit. Most people act until it gets uncomfortable, then they stop. But if you want to achieve great things, you have to push past that discomfort. You have to be willing to do what others won't. Look at the greatest athletes, the top performers in their fields. They don't just practice when they feel like it. They don't just show up when it's convenient. They train day in and day out. If you want to reach your goals, it reminds me of a quote from Albert Einstein. Nothing happens until something moves. Isn't that powerful? It's a simple statement, but it holds so much truth. You can have all the dreams, all the plans, all the vision in the world, but nothing happens until you take action, and not just a little action. Massive action. Now, I want you to think about your goal for a moment. What do you really want? Maybe it's financial freedom, maybe it's better health, maybe it's stronger relationships. Whatever it is, ask yourself this: what massive action can I take today to get me closer to that goal? And here's the key: don't just think about it, do it. Because thinking about action isn't the same as taking action. Some people get stuck in what I call analysis paralysis. They spend so much time analyzing, planning, and thinking that they never actually start. They want everything figured out before they take the first step. But here's the thing: the path to success isn't a straight line. There will be twists and turns, unexpected obstacles, but you can't let that stop you from taking that first step. Just start. Take action, even if you don't have it all figured out. Just start. The path will become clearer as you go. Here's another critical point about taking action: persistence. Because massive action isn't just about intensity, it's about consistency. You can't take massive action for a day or a week and then stop. You have to keep going. I've seen so many people get excited about their goals. They start taking action, but then they hit a setback and give up. They quit too soon. They don't realize success is often just around the corner. It reminds me of a story from the California gold rush. There was a man who dug for months without success. Finally, frustrated and discouraged, he gave up and sold his equipment to another miner. The new miner started digging right where the first one left off. And you know what happened? He struck gold just 3 feet from where the first man stopped. 3 feet. The lesson here is you have to keep going. You never know how close you are to your breakthrough. So here's what I want you to remember about massive action. It's not just about doing more, it's about doing the right things consistently over time. It's about showing up day after day, even when you don't feel like it. It's about pushing through challenges, obstacles, and setbacks, because that's where real growth happens. And when you combine massive action with persistence, that's when you become unstoppable. What action will you take today to get closer to your goal? Not tomorrow, not next week, today. Because here's the truth, the only moment we have is right now. And if you want to achieve everything you've ever dreamed of, it starts with acting right here, right now. So that's the second secret. Take massive action. Don't wait for the perfect moment, because there's no such thing as a perfect moment. The perfect moment is now. And when you take action, you create momentum. And momentum, my friend, is a powerful force. It will carry you forward. It will give you. Next, surround yourself with the right people. This is crucial, my friend. You see, we don't live in isolation. Our success, our failures, our thoughts, even our habits, they're all influenced by the people we spend the most time with. It's a simple but powerful truth. Your environment shapes you, and the people in your environment are a huge part of that. Think about it for a moment. Who are the people you talk to every day? Who are you sharing ideas with? Who are you getting feedback from? Who are you letting influence your thoughts? Because whether you realize it or not, these people are either helping you move closer to your goals or holding you back. You become like the people you spend the most time with. It's inevitable. If you're around people who are always negative, always complaining, who don't believe in themselves, that energy will rub off on you. On the other hand, if you surround yourself with people who are positive, focused, and driven, that energy will lift you up. You see, there's something called the law of association, and it's one of the most powerful forces in your life. Mr. Schoaf, my mentor, taught me this early on. He said, now he didn't mean that disrespectfully, but his point was, if you want to achieve great things, you have to associate with people who are also on the path to greatness. When I started out, I was surrounded by people who didn't have big dreams. They were good folks, don't get me wrong, but they weren't ambitious. They were content just getting by, living paycheck to paycheck, and they didn't see the point in reaching for more. I started feeling that way too. After all, if everyone around you thinks small, it's easy to start thinking small yourself. But then I met Mr. Schoaf, and he was different. He had big dreams, he had a vision for his life. And most importantly, he believed in the possibility of achieving more. Just being around him made me realize I was capable of more than I'd ever thought. That's the power of association. When you're around people who are constantly striving for more, who are always looking to improve themselves, who believe in growth and potential, it inspires you to do the same. It elevates your thinking. It expands you. Sometimes the people you've hung out with, your friends, your family, your co-workers, aren't on the same path as you. They might not understand your goals. They might even discourage you. And that's tough. I get it. It's not easy to distance yourself from people who've been part of your life for a long time, but you've got to make a choice. Do you want to stay where you are, or do you want to grow? Because now, I'm not saying you have to cut those people out of your life completely, but I am saying you need to be selective about who you spend the most time with. If you want to achieve greatness, You've got to spend time with people who are moving forward, people who are already where you want to be, or at least on the same journey as you. You've got to seek out mentors, find like-minded peers who aspire to success. Connect with people who challenge you to be better. I want you to take a moment and think about the 5 people you spend the most time with. Do their lives reflect the kind of life you want? Do their attitudes, habits, and if not, it's time to start making some changes. It might feel uncomfortable at first, but I promise you it's necessary. I knew a young man with big dreams of becoming a successful entrepreneur, but all his friends were content with regular jobs and living for the weekend. They didn't have the same drive he did. They weren't interested in self-improvement. They didn't set goals, and they certainly didn't push him toward his potential. In fact, whenever he talked about his dreams, they'd laugh and say he was crazy. At first, he didn't think much of it. He figured he could chase his dreams while still hanging out with the old crowd. But over time, their negativity started to wear on him. He began doubting himself, wondering if maybe they were right. Maybe he was crazy for wanting more. It wasn't until he decided to start spending time with a different group that things changed for him. He found a mentor. So he joined a group of entrepreneurs who were on the same path as him, and suddenly everything shifted. He was surrounded by people who believed in him, who pushed him, who challenged him to be better. That's when his business started taking off. You see, we're social creatures. We're influenced by those around us, whether we realize it or not. If you're always around people telling you what you can't do, you'll start believing it. But if you're around people telling you what you can do, encouraging you to aim higher, showing you what's possible, you'll start believing that instead. Here's the key. You have to be intentional about who you let into your life. It's not just about finding successful people. It's about finding people with the right mindset, people who are positive, growth-oriented, always striving to improve themselves. Because success isn't just about money or status. It's about growth, about becoming the best version of yourself. And you need people around. If you don't have those people in your life right now, I encourage you to seek them out. Find a mentor, join a mastermind group, attend seminars, read books, listen to podcasts. There are so many ways to connect with people who can elevate your thinking and push you to your full potential. And once you start surrounding yourself with the right people, you'll notice a dramatic shift in your life. Here's a little exercise you can do. Write down the names of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Next to each name, write whether they're lifting you up or holding you back. Are they encouraging your growth or keeping you in your comfort zone? Be honest with yourself. This exercise can be eye-opening, and once you've done it, you'll have a clear picture of who you need to spend more time with and who you might need to distance yourself from. Remember, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, so choose wisely. That's the 3rd secret. Surround yourself with the right people. When you do, you'll see your energy, your focus, and your results rise to a whole new level. Next, develop the right mindset. This is where the inner game begins, because everything starts in the mind. The thoughts you think, the beliefs you hold, the way you view the world around you, these shape the direction of your life more than anything else. It's not just about what you do, it's about how you think while you're doing it. You've probably heard the saying, "As a man thinks in his heart, so is he." It's an ancient piece of wisdom, and what goes on in your mind eventually shows up in your life. Your outer world is just a reflection of your inner world. So if you want to change your life, you have to start by changing your thinking. Now, here's what I want you to understand. There are 2 types of mindsets. There's the fixed mindset and the growth mindset. People with a fixed mindset believe their abilities, their intelligence, their talents are set in stone. They think, I'm good at something or I'm not, I'm smart or I'm not. These people don't like challenges because they're afraid of failure. They think failure, they don't stretch themselves, they don't take risks, and as a result, they don't grow. On the other hand, people with a growth mindset believe they can improve. They believe their abilities can be developed through effort, learning, and persistence. These people embrace challenges because they see them as opportunities to grow. They're not afraid of failure because they know it's just a stepping stone on the path to success. They understand every mistake. So let me ask you, which mindset do you have? Are you operating with a fixed mindset or a growth mindset? This matters because the mindset you adopt will shape how you approach every challenge, every goal, every setback in your life. Now, if you find you've been living with a fixed mindset, don't worry. The good news is you can change it. You can shift your thinking from fixed to growth. And when you do, everything starts getting better. But it takes awareness, it takes practice, it takes effort. One of the biggest shifts you can make is to stop thinking in terms of limitations and start thinking in terms of possibilities. People with a fixed mindset focus on what they can't do. They say things like, "I'm not good at math," or "I'm not cut out to be an entrepreneur," or "I'll never lose weight." These are limiting beliefs, and they keep people stuck. But people with a growth mindset, they say things like, "I might not be good at math yet, but I can learn," or "I may not have all the skills to start a business, but I can develop them," or "I might not be in great shape now, but I can get there." That's the kind of thinking that leads to success. When you start believing you can grow, that you can improve, that you can become more than you are today, you open up a world of possibilities. Suddenly, challenges aren't scary anymore. Instead of seeing obstacles, you start seeing opportunities. Show off. And he started teaching me about the power of mindset. One of the first things Mr. Schoff taught me was to stop thinking like a victim. He said, "Zig, if you want to change your life, you've got to stop blaming others for your circumstances. Stop blaming the economy. Stop blaming your past. Where you are is because of the choices you've made." That hit me like a ton of bricks, because up until that point, I'd been blaming everything outside myself for my situation. I blamed the government, I blamed my lack of education, I blamed my back. But Mr. Schoff made me realize none of that mattered as much as I thought. What mattered was my mindset and my choices. That was a turning point for me. I started taking responsibility for my life. I started adopting a growth mindset. Instead of seeing myself as a victim of circumstance, I began seeing myself as the creator of my circumstances. I started believing I could change, that I could grow, that I could learn, and that belief changed everything. Now, I want to share something powerful with you. The words you say to yourself matter. The way you talk to yourself shapes your mindset. If you keep telling yourself you're not good enough, and once you believe it, you'll start acting in line with that belief. One of the best things you can do to develop a growth mindset is to pay attention to the language you use with yourself. Are you speaking words of limitation or words of possibility? Are you focusing on what you can't do or what you can do? Every time you catch yourself thinking or speaking in a limiting way, stop and reframe it. Turn that limitation into a possibility. For example, instead of saying, "I can't do this," say, "I haven't learned how to do this yet, but I can." Instead of saying, "I'm not good at this," say, "I'm getting better every day." This simple shift. Another key to developing the right mindset is focusing on solutions instead of problems. People with a fixed mindset tend to get stuck in problems. They focus all their energy on what's wrong, and as a result, they feel overwhelmed and paralyzed. But people with a growth mindset focus on solutions. They acknowledge the problem, but they don't dwell on it. Instead, they immediately start looking for ways to solve it. Let me tell you, life is full of problems. That's just the nature of it. But the difference between those who achieve their goals and those who don't is how they respond to those problems. Do you let them stop you, or do you use them as opportunities to grow and learn? When I was building my business, I ran into countless problems. There were days when everything seemed to go wrong, but instead of letting those problems derail me, I focused on finding solutions. I asked myself, what can I learn from this? How can I improve from this experience? What's the opportunity here? And that mindset, that solution-focused approach, allowed me to keep moving forward even in the face of challenges. You see, your mindset is your greatest asset. It determines how you respond to life's inevitable ups and downs. It determines whether you'll give up at the... So here's what I want you to do. Commit to developing a growth mindset. Start by paying attention to your thoughts, your self-talk, and your focus. Whenever you catch yourself thinking in a limiting way, stop and reframe it. Whenever you face a problem, focus on finding a solution. And remember, growth is a process. You won't change your mindset overnight, but with consistent effort, you can develop the kind of thinking that will help you achieve everything you want in life. That's the fourth secret: develop the right mindset. Because when you change your mind, you change your life. Next, the fifth secret: improve yourself mentally and physically with consistency. This is the glue that holds everything together. You see, without consistency, even the best intentions, the clearest goals, the most massive action, the greatest relationships, and the right mindset won't lead to lasting success. Consistency is what separates dreamers from doers, starters from finishers. Now, I want you to think about this for a moment. How many times have you set a goal, gotten excited about it, started strong, but then after a few weeks or months, that excitement faded? How many times have you decided to change your life only to slip back into old habits after a short while? It happens to all of us at some point. We start with big enthusiasm, but without consistency, we can't sustain the momentum. Let me tell you something I learned early in my career. Success doesn't come from what you do occasionally. If you develop good habits and stick with them consistently, they compound over time and lead to extraordinary results. But if you have bad habits, or if you don't stay consistent, those small negative actions compound too and pull you further from your goals. Imagine you want to get in great shape. You set a goal to maybe you miss a workout, then another. Before you know it, you've stopped going to the gym altogether and your goal slips further away. Why? Because you didn't stay consistent. Now imagine if, instead, you kept that consistency. Even if you didn't have time for a full workout every day, you still made time for something, even if it's just a short run. It's about the little things you do consistently that create a massive impact over time. That's the power of consistency. Now, one reason people struggle with consistency is they expect instant results. We live in a world where people want immediate gratification. They want to lose 10 pounds in a week, make $1 million overnight, master a skill in a few days. But real success doesn't work that way. Real success takes time, it takes effort. And guess what? It takes consistency. I've seen this over and over in my own life. When I first started in business, I worked long hours, made calls, knocked on doors, tried to get things going. And let me tell you, at first, it felt like I wasn't getting anywhere. I'd go weeks, sometimes months, without seeing any significant results. But I didn't give up. I kept showing up, I kept taking action, and eventually the results started coming. Not because I did something extraordinary once. They get discouraged because they don't see results fast enough, so they give up. To achieve everything you want in life, there are a few principles, a few secrets, if you will, that make the biggest difference. Think about this. If you read just 10 pages of a good book every day, in a year you'll have read 3,150 pages. That's 12 to 15 books. But if you don't read anything, what happens? You stay right where you are. The slight edge works both ways. Positive actions compound over time to success. Negative actions compound over time to failure. There was a young man who wanted to learn to play the piano. He was excited at first and practiced for hours each day. But after a few weeks, he started losing motivation because he wasn't progressing as fast as he'd hoped. He considered quitting, but his piano teacher gave him some powerful advice. Don't worry about practicing for hours. Just commit to 15 minutes every day and don't miss a day. The young man took that advice to heart. He practiced just 15 minutes a day, no matter how busy he was, no matter how he felt. And guess what? After a year, he'd made incredible progress. He wasn't a concert pianist yet, but he was far better than when he started, all thanks to the power of consistency. So how do you build consistency? First, you need to create habits. Habits are powerful because they automate behavior. Once something becomes a habit, you don't have to rely on willpower or motivation to do it. You just do it automatically. That's why building good habits is one of the most important things you can do for your success. Start small. Don't try to overhaul your entire life overnight. Pick one area you want to improve and start building a habit there. If your goal is to get in shape, start by committing to just 10 minutes of exercise a day. If your goal is to improve your finances, start by saving just a small amount each week. If your goal is to grow mentally, start by reading just 10 pages a day. The key is to start small and stay consistent. Over time, those small habits will become second nature, and you'll start seeing results. Another key to building consistency is tracking your progress. Keep a journal, use a habit tracker, or find some way to measure your consistency. There's something powerful about seeing your progress in black and white. It holds you accountable and motivates you to keep going. Finally, find ways to stay motivated over the long haul. You won't always feel like showing up. You won't always feel like taking action, but that's when consistency matters most, when you don't feel like it. Find ways to remind yourself why you started in the first place. Surround yourself with positive influences, read inspiring books, listen to motivational speakers, and keep your goals in front of you. Early in my career, I didn't always feel motivated to make calls and knock on doors, but I had a clear vision of where I wanted to go. I knew what I was working toward. So on days when I didn't feel like acting, I'd remind myself of my goals. I'd remind myself why I started, and that kept me going. That's why having a strong why behind your goals is so important. When you know why you're doing something, staying consistent becomes easier, even when the motivation fades. So that's the fifth secret: consistency. It's about showing up every day, doing the small things consistently over time, and trusting that the results will come. Success isn't about one big heroic effort. It's about small daily actions that add up to big results over time. Remember, it's not what you do occasionally that counts. It's what you do consistently. And when you master the art of consistency, there's no limit to what you can achieve. This is the final piece of the puzzle, my friend. When you combine a clear decision, massive action, the right people, a growth mindset, and consistency, you create a powerful formula for success. You can achieve anything you want in life, but it starts with these 5 secrets. Now it's up to you to take this knowledge and apply it. So take what you've learned here, put it into practice, and watch your life transform. So there you have it, 5 powerful secrets from Zig Ziglar, from making a clear decision, taking massive action, choosing the right companions, developing your mindset, to relentless consistency. But here's the most important thing: knowledge is just the start. Action is the key. Start today, pick one secret, and apply it to your life. What will you do first? Share it with me in the comments. I'd love to hear your story. Don't forget to hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next dose of motivation. Together, we'll turn dreams into reality. See you in the next video.